without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Getting support from friends online kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
Instead of smoking after I ate, I'd get up and take a walk.
I missed having a cigarette in my hand, so I'd hold a pen or a straw, anything.
Until I knew I wouldn't give in to temptation, I spent more time with my friends who didn't smoke.
I went to places that were smoke-free.
I didn't stay quit the very first time I tried.
I kept on trying, and I learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
I quit.
I quit.
I quit.
We did it, so can you.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
Talk 1470, WWNN Pompano Beach, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Listen Sundays at noon for Be a Catholic with topics like the high horse of morality, Catholicism, on AM 1470 WNN.
This is Talk 1470. Talk 1470. WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
The content of the following program, including all statements from the hosts and guests, is to provide general information and commentary about the law. Under no circumstances does any statement made by the host or guest to a caller or listener constitute legal advice or the formation of an attorney-client relationship, and the material from this program shall not be viewed as substitute for a personal consultation with an attorney. Now, prepare yourself to be informed and entertained by Gus Bravo and Neil Consi, two AV-rated trial lawyers who have been practicing law for a combined total of nearly 40 years. For the next 30 minutes, they will share their insight and commentary on important legal issues affecting all of us.
A criminal defense lawyer is about to give his closing arguments. He's representing a man accused of killing Joe Smith, but Joe Smith's body was never found. The lawyer gets up to give his closing and he feels like he's going to lose, so he comes up with an idea. He turns to the jury and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in 30 seconds, I've got a surprise for you. If you turn to the door where the courtroom opens, Joe Smith, who is not dead, is going to walk through that door." And he sits and pauses, and everybody in the jury box turns towards the door. The lawyer, thinking he's smart, says, "No, I'm mistaken. Mr. Smith's not walking through that door, but all of you looked at the door. That means you all have reasonable doubt, and therefore you cannot convict my client of murder." He finishes, and the jury goes back, and 5 minutes later, the jury comes back with their verdict: guilty of murder. The lawyer is stunned. He meets the foreperson in the hallway, and he says, "My God, you all had reasonable doubt. You all looked at that door." And the foreperson looks at him and says, "Yes, we all looked at the door. Everyone in the courtroom looked at the door except your client." Welcome to Attorney Confidential. My name's Neil Consi.
And I'm Gus Bravo. I guess he didn't train his client properly.
No, he didn't tell his client he was going to do that, and that was a problem. He kind of gave it away. That's why they only needed 5 minutes.
That's good. It's getting better. It's getting better. I still think we need Claire's here to tell us some better jokes, but that's fine. You'll do for now. Welcome to Attorney Confidential. Today is Monday, June 1st.
Oh, the beginning of hurricane season.
Yes, we'll talk about that. Yeah. Don't jump the gun. You know,
Okay.
we wanted to get a little bit more substantive here because I think it's important that we try to provide some information. You know, I mean, obviously it's entertainment, but we also want to be informative. So for those of you listening, and you know who you are, please call us, 888-565-1470. We will be happy to answer any questions you may have or comments about the legal field or anything, rather. It's just we want to have a little bit more engaging discussion with our very loyal listening audience.
Right, and there's no such thing as a stupid question. And if it is a stupid question, all the better we'll have something to make fun of. But nonetheless,
you can also send us a message on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Attorney Confidential. You can also tweet us at Bravo_law.
Right, because I don't have a Twitter account because I still don't understand Twitter.
Because you don't tweet.
I don't tweet. I thought I taught Putty Cat. I don't tweet.
I'm sorry. So please rescue me if you can from these
Gus
jokes.
has been trying to get me to use Twitter now for a year. But I just
you could also do the old-fashioned way again, 888-565-1470. So until we get calls, we are going to answer some questions that I think you've pulled from
we had
Avo.
some interesting Avo questions that I pulled. I hope no one's eating right now. The first question, and these are legitimate questions.
Not at
sent
6:05.
At 6:05. And when I was a kid, we used to eat at 6:05 and at 7:05 and at 8:05. Anyway, the question is, what can I do if I find a maggot in my takeout order from Taco Bell?
Don't eat it.
Yeah, exactly. As I was undoing the quesadilla, I'm not sure what undoing a quesadilla means, but anyways,
I think it just means
unwrapping maybe.
yes.
To put sauce in there was a maggot. After telling this to the people that have already eaten, they immediately had the urge to just run to the bathroom and vomit everything out of their system. Oh. Needless to say, he did not eat the maggot. What can I do? What I like about this one is, really? I'm sorry. The lawyer answers are
Why
great.
don't you give the name of the person that posted it?
I ain't doing that. I'll give the name of some of the lawyers, though, because lawyers, and Gus and I do this too, we answer questions on Avo. If any of you actually have a legitimate question, you might get an answer from us on
And
Avo.
obviously, even a question that's not so legitimate, you can put it
My
post on
favorite is
Avo.
the first response from a lawyer, Philip Fabiano in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can do this nationally, or you can ask for your attorneys in your own state. But he says, what you can do is ask for a refund. What else would there be for you to do? Which is about the best concise. And then the other lawyers just chime in on. But it goes back to the point we had made, I think, on a previous show, is there might be liability there. I mean, you might actually have a claim, but what are the damages? And the whole problem is when you think about filing a lawsuit, you pay the $400 filing fee. I'm not sure that case is worth the $400 filing fee.
Well, it depends how much the quesadilla is worth, right? I mean, Taco Bell is pretty inexpensive.
A Taco Bell quesadilla is about $1.50 maybe. I don't know, $1.49. But the issue there is, yes, you're not going to have suffered scarring or emotional distress from finding the maggot. I think that's one of those.
Well, you forgot about the friends that had to run to the restroom also. So, look, obviously, you can see some of the questions. There are a lot better questions on Avo. I get, but Neil was the one in charge of actually coming up with these questions.
Is this sexual harassment?
Oh boy.
In the bathroom at my office.
If you ask the question.
In the bathroom at my office, the supervisor made an engraved sign out of aluminum that reads, "Attention, would all you gentlemen with short," you fill in the blank, "please slide closer to the urinal." After many requests, he refused to take down the sign, and now it has created a hostel, spelled Hostel,
which is not so negative.
Shows the education level of the questioner. Hostel would be, staying at a youth hostel and somewhere. But anyway, it creates a hostile work environment. I even have pictures of the sign. Should I seek legal counsel? And
he just gave himself away.
I mean, the problem with that is if you feel the need to sue, then you're kind of revealing that you might be one of the people offended by this sign. So that might be a giveaway that you don't want to give away.
Did you get any humorous responses there?
What's funny about this one is some lawyers actually responded, there might be more context to the story you're not mentioning, so you should seek a free evaluation with a labor and employment lawyer.
Well, I'm not sure I would want to evaluate that particular case, right?
Exactly. I mean, what type of evaluation are you talking about there?
Send us a picture, and we'll let you know if you fill in the blank.
And then my favorite was, this itself is not likely sexual harassment. However, now that you've complained about it, if you're being retaliated against for your complaint, there might be a legal violation. Please consult with a local attorney to go through the details and see if there's a viable case.
So clearly, the bar here, folks, is very, very low for the question. So if you have any type of question or a comment about the legal industry, or just a comment in general, question in general, 888-565-1470.
Exactly. I mean, it is actually, Avo, we've joked about, because you get the bad questions, or I won't call them stupid. Yes, I will. They're stupid questions. But you get those questions, but they are very, very legitimate, and we could go through and identify several good questions that, like I said, Gus and I answer, several lawyers.
It's a good medium for people to pose questions, and I understand sometimes people don't want to air out their dirty laundry or have some type of thing that may be embarrassing. For instance, how far you have to stand from a urinal, I guess, would be one of them. But it is a good source to ask questions, and for the most part, you get some pretty accurate and informative responses. So unless we have other questions, I don't know you came up with. I think now
I thought
we can turn to usually my favorite part, which is the headlines. Some of the major headlines. Today is the start of hurricane season.
That's right.
June 1st. So,
Well, but we've already had one named Storm, but it is technically the start.
That's true. So, look, anytime, it goes without saying, all the materials, the batteries and stuff, which reminds me I have to go to Publix and I'm sure buy their special hurricane packet of all things that you're never going to need, But along the list of things that folks should be preparing themselves for is obviously, unfortunately, is insurance policies. If we get a major storm or even a lesser storm, as we learned with Katrina. Remember, Katrina in 2005 was 2 months before Wilma. Katrina actually caused significant damage here, and it was a tropical storm. So if we get any kind of storm, you want to make sure, in advance of the storm, you want to make sure that your hurricane policy and coverages are all up to date.
Right.
Because that could be a very significant loss.
Exactly. And if once there's a named storm, there's a certain time period with which you can't renew. They won't allow you to renew the policy if it's out of date. So So everybody should check, make sure you know that those are getting paid.
Listen, you don't have to read the whole packet unless you have trouble sleeping at night. There's a big insurance policy. That's what lawyers are there for. Usually if you have an insurance agent or even the adjuster themselves, you just want to make sure there's enough coverage to cover the value of your home and then also cover the values of any personal property you may have. You also have to be on the lookout if you live in a flood zone, as many in South Florida do, that you not only have windstorm, but you also have flood insurance. Because, I mean, as we've seen and we've dealt with cases in the past, a lot of times the major damage comes from the flood, from the waters, and not necessarily from the wind.
Right.
And insurance companies will obviously make that distinction when it comes time to pay up. And they'll blame most of it on the wind, on the flood. So it's important you have your coverages up to date. Any more tips you want to give folks? I know you've had a couple of hurricane claims. I mean, I've dealt with a few.
If a hurricane were to come, and look, I mean, we do the show once a week, so hopefully we'll have enough notice to talk about that if there's actually a named storm coming to Florida and give some legal advice on what to do. But documenting the damage is very important. In today's day, where we have the smartphones that you can take a picture of anything. I mean, we see that in car accident cases now, where people have got pictures of the cars, and you didn't see that when I started practicing law. They had to do it on sketch art. But
you beat me to it.
I knew you were going to say that.
I was going to say the flash bulb that would blow out smoke.
I mean, look, when there's and juries actually expect that now.
Absolutely.
When we've tried cases, juries actually expect you to have photographic evidence of damage because you own a smartphone, and there's nobody that doesn't have a camera typically that they can take a quick picture or document their evidence.
Well, both before and after. Because I think the before pictures are just as valuable as the after.
So get a picture of if a storm is coming, get a picture of your house, the exterior, what the roof looks like. It wouldn't hurt, frankly, since it's June 1st, to go ahead and document, and you don't have to worry about it. Take pictures of your house.
Taken from really good angles, too.
And every June 1st, if you just get in the habit of doing that, just like you might change your smoke detectors when the time changes.
I hate those things.
Oh,
they wake me up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That's just terrible.
But it's just one thing to do. I mean, so if every June 1st you just take pictures of the exterior of your house and you have it documented for that year, that would save you from even having to worry about that. You've got them in your phone.
Yeah, that's very good advice. And also, look, if you've done any kind of major remodeling to the house, obviously keep the receipts and new floors and things like that, because ultimately when there's damage, the fight usually comes down to what type of quality, the quality of the floors, the quality of any kind of walls or any kind of additions and enhancements you've had to your property. So to the extent you've done something recently, you want to keep those receipts to prove that. And the same thing with any major purchase of a television, an appliance, and things like that.
Of course, if your roof is already extremely damaged, don't photograph it and pray that, no, we won't go there. No. But in all seriousness, yeah, you need to take photographs. If you know a storm is coming, if you're not going to do it every June 1st automatically, and after the storm immediately, as soon as it's safe to go outside. I'm not suggesting anybody go out while the eye of the storm is passing.
Wait for the eye goes through. That's the perfect time to do it.
Right. The back wall gets you, but that's okay. It's
well, and obviously I think we were saying is right after the storm, when it's safe, you want to go out and document all of the damages and try not, and obviously not even when it's safe, don't move things around. Take photographs, document everything, and make sure you get in queue with the adjusters. Because understand, as we learned during 2005, especially during Wilma down here, even though the insurance companies will do their best to send as many adjusters as possible, it goes all in queue. So you want to get ahead of the queue as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
We're coming up to our break here. I think the halfway point. We've thus far been talking about some of the questions and hurricane season. The second half of the show, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is sports.
Right.
And specifically the FIFA scandal, which is near and dear to my heart, because leave it up to the folks from FIFA to really know, there's scandals and bribes, but then there's the FIFA level.
Exactly. It should be interesting.
Please, and if you're listening, give us a call, 888-565-1470. You're listening to Attorney Confidential with Gus and Neil.
Attorney Confidential with Gus and Neil is being brought to you by the law offices of Neil D. Codsey and Bravo Law. Bravo Law is a business litigation firm known for providing common sense solutions to small businesses and individuals throughout South Florida. Mr. Bravo is rated AV by Martindale-Hubbell and Superb by AVVO, the highest ratings available from these two entities. The law offices of Neil D. Codsey is the litigation boutique with offices in Broward and Miami-Dade counties. Mr. Codsey is a veteran trial lawyer with nearly 25 years of jury trial experience. He is also a two-time recipient of the South Florida Daily Business Review's Most Effective Lawyer Award, a recipient of numerous awards for providing pro bono legal services, and has been recognized by the National Law Council. Call our office, 786-464-0841 or 954-790-6711, and get informed. You're listening to Attorney Confidential with Gus and Neil. If you have a comment, question, or just want to contribute to the conversation, call the show at 888-565-1470 and share your thoughts on what's going on. Now, back to Gus and Neil for more Attorney Confidential.
Welcome back to Attorney Confidential with Gus and Neil. The first half of the show, we've been talking about some questions and major headlines, start of hurricane season. And before we turn to the next topic of FIFA, I just wanted to run something by you, Neil, and just word association. Another major headline today was a person by the name of Caitlyn Jenner. What comes to mind when I say that?
Oh God, that was just that picture was just scary. Please don't put that on the Wheaties box.
No, fortunately, I didn't have time to get a picture to bring it on there. For those who are not listening, obviously, Bruce Jenner, a Olympic gold medalist decathlon athlete, has now become Caitlyn Jenner. And so you just do a Google search, you'll find some pictures there that are very, very interesting. But no comment, nothing.
Just that is probably
Neil, come on, I know you want to say
biggest
something.
hurdle that Bruce has jumped since the decathlon. Okay, is that good enough?
I know you had more. All right,
I do, but I don't know that I can say it on the air.
All right, so we'll turn now to another, maybe a less a safer topic, if you will, less controversial.
I guess Bruce now would have to stand extremely close to the urinal in my first okay.
All right, let's move on because this is going to go nowhere fast.
Right.
FIFA. For those of you that have been living under a rock for the last week, there it is, the FIFA, which stands for, do you know what it stands for, by the way? Put you on the spot?
No.
It's French. It's Federation International Football Association.
I should have thought of football for soccer.
Yes,
I was going, where's the S? And then it just hit me that only we call it soccer.
So we have up on the picture on for those of you that are following online, live stream on UstreamTV.tv, it's FIFA, for the game, for the world. And I think you should have added, and for ourselves too, at the end of that. Because obviously, Neil, if you're familiar with the allegations that came out, I think Wednesday or Thursday of last week, of the scandal, the bribing that's going on in the sport to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, and FIFA officials mostly from the Americas were arrested in Switzerland.
Right.
And it was an investigation that actually was started by the federal government, by the IRS no less, and they were looking into some Russian mafia activities when they connected the dots and it led them back to FIFA.
It's really a shame that I guess sports has become such a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we see it at the college level. We see it professional sports now, FIFA, which is technically amateur still. I mean,
no, not FIFA. No. And FIFA, well, FIFA is technically a non-profit.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, it governs the professional football associations, although that's a little bit convoluted. FIFA really is more the overseer.
But FIFA's the national, but isn't
FIFA is the international. So the FIFA. So
but
the
I mean, it's the international though. But people that play for their country, it's not.
It's both. Well, here's the way it works. So you have FIFA is basically have 6 confederations. So you have the North American, Central America, which is CONCACAF. Then you have South America, CONMEBOL, UEFA, which is Europe / Asia. Then you have the African, Asia, and Oceania. I think that's 6. And so those particular federations then are made up of individual countries' football associations or FAs. So, for instance, U.S. Soccer is a member of CONMEBOL.
Okay.
And just like the British or the English FA is a member of UEFA. So, and then from there you have both.
Did you say UEFA?
UEFA.
Not to me. I mean, that's okay, go ahead.
So I'm trying to be serious here. You
I
know,
but that would. So I just want to make sure that I should be offended or not. And go ahead.
Always. So what happened here is a classic example of power corrupts absolutely, right?
Right.
So you have a bunch of high-ranking officials that have the power of bringing in a large sporting event and making a lot of money on the side. And so, stop me if you've heard this before. So you have a governing agency, sports governing agency, that's supposed to be there to govern the sport, that instead it's lining its pockets. I mean, closer to home we have, I think you mentioned already, the NCAA, which is another classic example, I think, of a sports governing entity that's supposed to be there for the greater good, and it turns out for the greater good of themselves.
Right. It's really, like I said, I mean, the absolute power. And if you can tell Gus's passion for soccer or football, it is Gus actually is a college athlete. He played college soccer
at Nova. I tell people it was 20 years, 40 pounds ago. That number keeps rising on both ends.
It's the same thing. Like in college I was known for the 12-ounce curls. But in high school,
something tells me you've used that joke many times
in high school, Gus has heard this before. I do tell people that I was an all-state wrestler because my wrestling team was insured by Allstate.
Oh,
but
you should have left it at the curls.
But I did wrestle in high school.
Yeah, and listen, obviously,
and I lettered.
Good. Good. That's quite an achievement.
And that was 30 years and 100 pounds ago.
So, yeah, soccer is near and dear to my heart. But I think the big picture ticket here from the legal standpoint, I know a lot of the questions that I got asked last week were, well, how the heck can the U.S. government, frankly, ironically enough, who doesn't care as much about soccer as other countries, which I think is
one of the reasons. Deflating any of the soccer balls?
No,
issue?
No. So how can the U.S. go to Switzerland and get a bunch of people arrested for things that apparently happen outside the U.S.? Well, actually, part of the scheme, part of the fraud, part of the bribes
took place
here. Some of the meetings took place here, and obviously they use U.S. bank accounts. So, I mean, that's plenty, as we know.
It doesn't take much.
An element of the crime that occurs here is enough to get the tentacles of the American government.
Right. For anybody who ever gets involved in complex litigation, one of the hardest debates is what we call in the law venue, where to file or where can you file. And you get these complex cases where a little bit happened in Florida, a little bit happened in North Carolina, a little bit happened in Germany, a little bit happened in California.
Right.
And then we spend a year just debating where the case should be filed.
Right. Well, here the U.S. obviously has a treaty with the Swiss, so that's going to give them the right to get those folks extradited here. And look, this is just the beginning of the story. But I think part of the bigger picture for me, it's what's interesting, just being a sports junkie, is other governing entities like the NCAA, for instance, that are just supposed to, again, be there for the greater good, and they're supposed to be the ones that oversee and keep an eye on everything. And so it's one of these kind of quasi-public, private scenarios that gets really murky. And so I think it will be interesting to keep an eye on this and see how it evolves. But it also involves some racketeering, which I know last week I asked you about RICO. I don't know if you had a chance to look up and see what RICO stands for.
It was in Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act.
You did look it up. Good for you.
Because I know
for
you
you.
well enough
Good
to
for
know
you.
that you were either going to call me on that or something else related to Wikipedia. So I had to look that one up.
Excellent. So 888-565-1470. Tweet us, Facebook us. I don't think we have Instagram yet, but what the heck? Try it. Who knows?
Right.
Last headline I read today on Reuters Legal posing the question whether big tobacco is going to get in the business of marijuana. And I know
Interesting. I hadn't heard that.
I know you had some history with one. I'm not sure you had history with both. But
The Fifth Amendment comes to mind right now.
But you know what?
I didn't inhale.
Okay. So congratulations, you qualified for the presidency.
Right.
So I think the one interesting set of facts was the way the article posted was, look, if you look at the infrastructure, if you look at the vendors, if you look at the industry as a whole, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of overlap.
Oh, there's a ton of similarities, except for most people roll their own with marijuana, so I don't know if you need...
But here's where this is going. So now the vapor industry, obviously, well, these oils and things that are supposed to, to avoid the smoke is becoming very popular. Now, I know you have the background with some of the science and whether really it's the smoke that could cause some of the damage, or is it going to, are matters going to improve by the fact that you have it liquefied now?
Well, that's an interesting, I don't know, as marijuana gets more prevalent in society and more states allow it, if you're going to actually see health effects claims for marijuana. What a lot of people I don't think realize is when you see these ads, for example, that talk about all these terrible chemicals that are in tobacco smoke, all those chemicals are anytime you burn vegetative matter. If you go out in your backyard and burn leaves, you're going to get 90% of the same chemicals as someone burns tobacco. The difference is the type of leaf. For example, not all leaves contain nicotine.
Right.
So tobacco is unique in that it contains nicotine, and therefore by containing nicotine derivatives and other chemicals unique to nicotine. But I could rattle off a list of carcinogens. They talk about the 53, I think they're now up to 65 carcinogens in tobacco smoke. I think 62 of those are if you burn an oak leaf. There's only 3 unique to tobacco smoke. Marijuana, my guess, probably has 60 as well, and the same, because it's burning a vegetative matter. It's burning something that grows, and so the organic chemicals that come out of that.
So there's a lot of overlap.
There's tons of overlap. I mean, the THC would be and there would be probably carcinogen derivatives from THC. So, but that's an interesting issue. And then the vaping thing's a whole separate, because now what you're doing is you're selling devices that people can use to conceal their marijuana smoking. If it conceals the odor, then there's probably a way to vape.
Well, what's going to be interesting here is that now you see states, there's the movement now to legalize it, and so eventually, I don't think big tobacco is going to get involved until it's obviously legal on a federal scale, and I suspect that the feds are not going to allow it until at least half the states have legalized it. But I think looking down the road, you can see they're just parallel front.
Interesting issue.
Parallel front. So, anyways, we have 2 minutes left. And I think in the last 2 minutes, I'll give you a whole minute to summarize.
A whole minute? Wow. Summarize the show. Well, we started out... no, I'm going to go backwards. We finished off with, prior to tobacco, talking about soccer balls, and prior to that, talking about something with no balls. And that will be my concept where we go from Bruce Jenner to soccer. It's the only transition I can think of since
that's quite a lot to juggle.
I mean, I gotta tell you,
we can keep going.
And you told me, and I'll give you my 10 more seconds, that he's now receiving the Arthur Ashe Espy Award for courage. I mean, to me,
Look
the definition
into the camera
of courage,
and tell us what you
the
think
definition of courage is someone who has a lot of balls.
Okay.
So,
on that note, let's pull up the picture. Please rescue us from that. Neil, I'm going to put you out of your misery. Okay. So this one, it's kind of hard to look at, but it's from the London Underground. And apparently on the subway system in London, they have sayings and these quotes all randomly placed throughout. And this was from JFK. It said, "A man may die. Nations may rise and fall, but an idea lives on." John F. Kennedy, London Underground. Go figure. Tune in again next week to Attorney Confidential with Gus and Neil. Oh, we'll have a lot more substantive stuff.
Good evening.
Talk about more balls.
You have been listening to Attorney Confidential with Gus Bravo and Neil Kotze, two rated AV trial attorneys with over 40 years of experience. Tune in next week for another episode of entertainment, insight, and just plain fun. That's Monday, 6 p.m. on WNN, 1470 AM. See you next Monday for more Attorney Confidential.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Attorney Confidential with Gus and Neil is being brought to you by the law offices of Neil D. Kotze and Bravo Law. Bravo Law is a business